We're with a Kumaras litter, and everything's going very well here. She gave birth yesterday, Saturday. 4 males, 2 females. They weigh roughly between 500 and 600 grams now. And they're doing very, very well. It's a very easy birth. She started at I think 5, 6 o'clock in the morning and she was finished by about 11, so it's nice and quick and easy. And that went very, very well. When it comes to morphology, we're pretty good at that. I mean, it's, you know, when you're looking at pedigrees, you can recognise a boxer because it has a certain type of morphology, a Great Dane, etc., etc. And the same with those Blanc, we're pretty good at that morphology. The difficulty, not just for us but for everybody, is that temperament, because a pedigree dog is not just about the morphology, it should have pretty much the same temperaments. That's the whole idea of pedigree breeding. The morphology gives them the ability, the physique, to be fit for function, and the mentality gives them the means to be fit for function. And the Belgian Blanc is still very, very split. There are 4 distinct, just in the showroom, 4 distinct types of personalities, types of temperament that we see. Just in the showroom, we see the dogs that are overly excited, and it's that excitement level that drives them around the showroom. But they're difficult. An overexcited dog is difficult to handle, can be difficult to handle. We have dogs that are scared. They're easier to handle in a lot of ways, but we can see they're scared because they have the tail between their legs. Then we have the dog that's sort of in between, can just about cope with it, but can go either way, towards overexcitement or towards fear. And then we have, of course, the other type of dog, which is the steady dog. That just, get in there, get in there. So those are the 4 types of temperament just in the showroom that we see. And we should only be really aiming for one type of temperament. What is the right type of temperament? Well, we're a family pet, a family pet show cat. Most of our dogs go as family pets, so for the family to live with an overexcited dog is difficult. It's easier to live with a scared dog than an overexcited dog, because whatever it makes it scared you can actually avoid, so your dog doesn't appear to be scared. So in that respect it's easier to live with a scared dog than an overexcited dog. Neither of which is ideal. You want a steady dog. And that's what we're trying to develop, is a mythology so that we get this. Now with Kumaras litter, this type of mothering technique, and I've done other videos about this, we have a soft mothering technique. Jam, when we see her, she's a bit of a speed mothering technique, and it gives a different imprinting that goes on in a puppy. It's really interesting actually. When I do my first major test on the puppies, which will be at 3 weeks, just before they go on solids, when they've got all their senses working, smell, sight, sound, touch, all those senses are working, we do our first major test, which involves use of sound, food, and we see their reaction. At that age they don't know fear, they've got no reason to understand what fear is. It's just their reaction to things. With the Kumara litter, what we see is going to be a split. We've got 6 puppies, so I can say we'll have 2 that will follow the sound, 2 that will follow the food, and 2 that will move away. There's actually a 4th, but that's a bit more subtle, where a puppy doesn't make a reaction initially and then follows one of those 3 movements towards the sound of food or moving away. So we've got the same reaction we'll have in the show ring actually. With the jam litter we're going to have 2 reactions maximum. They'll follow the sound or they'll move away, that's it. And it's a lot easier to work with a litter that is moving, doing one thing, because that's the way the litter is. Here we're going to have a litter that's split into 3. Now I don't particularly want to do that because it gives a lot more work. I might as well work with 3 separate litters, even though there's only 6. So what we're doing with this litter is being very, very firm on our handling right at the beginning. And getting them squealing and being very, very firm with the puppies. And here we go. Easy. I don't normally have her in here when I'm doing this anymore, because it is a bit too firm. And then it's about calming it down afterwards. Okay, right. And increasing the speed in which the puppy can calm down. So I've been doing this quite intensively over the last 48 hours. Whoa, whoa. It's not, so I don't normally have okay, just about there. You was, now we're not. So this is what I've been doing, and it's so that when we do the test, we're going to get a pack reaction rather than an individual reaction. And then it's a lot easier to work with because that reaction is the majority reacting in a certain way, then you're working with what you've got afterwards. Whatever the reaction doesn't necessarily mean it's a good reaction or a bad reaction, but I want a pack reaction rather than the individual split where I've got 3 different things going on. So that's what we're working on, and I take Kumara out quite a lot so that when she comes in for the feeding, the puppies are more geared up to get to her as well, so she has to discipline the puppies a little bit harder than she did last time to keep them in line. So it's all about this, it's all about this mothering technique and the imprinting that's going on, and we'll find out the proof of the pudding when we do the actual first test, and we can compare that to the first test, that Kumara had. And you'll see how it all works, and that we can actually imprint certain behaviour patterns in the dog right at the beginning. So yeah, that's the Kumara litter, and we'll be following her progress.